we are talking about how to handle objections and close your final expense sale like a pro. As I do in every training on sales training for the presentation, I like to remind you of where you are relative to the particular topic we're talking about. So in the 4-part series, the sales closing tactics occurs at the end. At this point, you have properly introduced yourself, you've built rapport, you've done a tremendous amount of fact-finding and pre-qualifying, and you've presented a product of what you sell, and you've positioned yourself effectively as being the only obvious solution for this person to buy, and you have their tacit verbal agreement that they will buy from you. Now, this is very important to keep in mind. If you follow the steps that I have outlined so far in the sales process, the objection handling and closing section, honest to God's truth, should be the easiest portion of the sales call. Now, why would I say that? A reason I say that is because most people flip out. They think, oh God, I have an objection. Oh, I've got to deal with this, or I've got to remember 50 different objections when it comes to selling the final expense process. And what I respond to that is this. If you experience objections, a tremendous amount of objections, now we'll get to some specifics about what objections are stalling tactics and what aren't, but if you're experiencing significant, very conditionally based objections that really maybe object to the whole concept or the price or something else, you have not done a good job with how I teach how to sell. My dad taught me this. He sold chemicals. He sold out to a very large company called Ecolab after 20 years being self-made. And he told me that essentially sales is about overcoming objections. I would clarify that further, saying that sales is all about overcoming objections before they become an objection. If you look back at the sales trainings I've done over the past couple of weeks, what we have done up to this point has specifically and intentionally eliminated objections that could come up. The most possible or most probable objections that come up when it comes to final expense are trust. Do they trust you? Does the price work? Is it something they can fit in their budget? Do they need what you're selling? Do they have the health? And will they allow you to bank draft it? And do they feel like, again, kind of tying back into trust, are you somebody that's worth trusting? Does the insurance you're offering make sense to them? So if you think about it, each of those things we've already overcome. We've built trust through the rapport and introduction phase, the exhibition of our knowledge and being sharp as a tack by demonstrating what insurance is out there, how we're different, showing them how we're different, not just telling. We've pre-qualified them. They're okay with the bank draft. They've got the health that qualifies. That's usually the easiest. And this is usually the hardest part of the pre-qualification phase. We've identified a need, and we've tested it against, the alternatives out there. We've asked them the tough questions. So if we take all that into consideration, and we get to the close, and we're going to ask for the business, don't you think that you have a really, really high odds of closing your prospect? If you've done all this heavy lifting prior to presenting the price and asking for the business, how much resistance are you really going to get? Very little if you got somebody and you have followed, somebody who really fits the mold and you have followed the sales presentation just like I taught it. I promise you, if you do, the objections part, the most part that every salesperson is concerned about, becomes the least important. It becomes the easiest because you've done all the heavy lifting prior to that.